Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is an eyeshadow crash course. So if you are not familiar with my crash course series, basically what I do is I take you through everything I think you should know about a product category. I definitely think my last two were kind of like lecture-y, and I kind of want to move away from that in this video. That being said, this video still is going to have a ton of information in it, but I'm also going to be including a demo portion in this video because what is theory without practice? This eye look is meant to be super like flattering and eye-opening, and it's gonna make your eye look kind of bigger and more awake. If you want something more like a smoky eye, I do have like a foolproof smoky eye tutorial that works for all eye shapes that I'm gonna link down below. So you can definitely check that out afterwards if that's more the look you're after. So without further ado, let's jump into it. The first thing I wanna go over is the different brushes and what their uses are. So fluffier brushes are good for blending and applying a sheer wash of color and diffusing edges. So my favorite brush for this is the Inglot 6SS. I really like this for applying my transition shade in my crease. I also like this for just going in and blending everything out, diffusing color. If you actually use this to apply color, it will only apply a sheer wash. So it's not ideal for applying shadow all over the lid or something like that, but it can make a huge difference in making your eyeshadow look more airbrushed, more professional. I think a brush like this, like something round and fluffy, is something that's missing in most people's collections that could make the biggest difference. The next thing is that flatter, stiffer brushes are better for applying color or packing it on, and this you would want to do all over the lid. So I'm just going to show you like what these brushes look like. I have a couple of examples here from left to right. It's the e.l.f. Shadow brush from their $1 line, then one end of the Naked 3 palette brush. The next one is by Gurlain, and the one all the way on the right is the Real Techniques detailer brush, which I really like to use for detailing. So anything flat is going to be good at picking up color and placing it down on the skin. Obviously, you're not going to really be able to blend anything out with these edges. Like, it just doesn't really make sense. Then there are brushes like these. These are the MAC 217 and the Real Techniques Bold Metals 208. And basically they are blending brushes that are pinched at the ferrule and have like a flat edge to them. Now these you can actually do both with. You can blend and add color. Apply color rather. You would use like the flat end to apply color and then the fluffy end to blend or apply color to the crease. Because these are not as round and fluffy as something like the Inglot 6SS brush, they're going to apply color or blend color in a more precise way than something like this. This is going to give you like a really diffused look. So I normally use this and one of these in a look. Like, I use both. If I'm traveling and I'm not really worrying about eye makeup, I definitely bring one of these because you can do application and blending with them. The next thing I want to talk about is the density and texture of brushes. The Inglot 6SS, this fluffy blending brush, is a squirrel imitation brush. So it's not real animal hair, but it imitates real animal hair really well. And the significance of that is that it's really, really soft. So this again is great for diffusing color. Something that's more stiff like the MAC 217, this is white goat hair. This is really coarse. It's still fluffy, but the actual texture of the bristles is more coarse. So what that's gonna do is it's gonna move color a little bit better. So let's say you have a dark color in the crease and you're having trouble blending it out with something like this. This is too soft to really move that color. And a quick note on the density of brushes. These are crease brushes. This one is the Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush, and then this is the Sephora Pro Smokey Crease Brush. These, I don't know if you can tell on camera, I would say the same thing about the IT Cosmetics crease brushes. They're kind of too dense, and that kind of makes them unideal for blending. So the fact that they're crease brushes is kind of confusing to me, but I actually really like these for blending out eye primer and for using in the crease with cream eyeshadow, because with cream eyeshadow you need something synthetic and more dense, which moves me to my next point, which is natural versus synthetic. Generally, natural hair brushes are better for picking up powders and synthetic brushes are better for picking up creams. Now, when I say natural hair brush, I would still include something like this, which is an imitation squirrel, because it mimics natural hair. It has that softness to it. Usually when people say synthetic brush, they mean something plasticky though. So they mean like one of those flat foundation brushes or something like this, which is usually referred to as a cream shadow or concealer brush. And you can kind of see, focus, you can kind of see it looks plasticky. It definitely feels plasticky, and that's kind of usually what we mean when we say synthetic brush. Now, this kind of brush is best for creams, or picking up like those really soft metallic foily eyeshadows. Okay, so that's the rundown on brushes, and now we're gonna get into the demo. So let me zoom you guys in. So the first thing is I have a little bit of concealer on my eyes, so I'm just going to make sure to pat it all out so there are no creases. You really shouldn't use like an eye cream or moisturizer right before doing your eyeshadow. You should still moisturize around the eye area, but kind of save that for the nighttime unless your eyelids are super dry. The other thing is you might see on YouTube that a lot of people use concealer as their primer. This has never worked for me. I do it when I'm in a rush, but I definitely crease. So there's a lot of different primers that you can use. Some are more liquidy and like on the clear side, like the Nars one and the Mary Kay one. I do really like both of these, and I kind of prefer to use them on my more natural days. If you have really hooded eyelids, like hooded means that when your eyes are open you can't see your lid, then you definitely need like a drier, thicker primer, and for that I would recommend MAC Paint Pot. This I would honestly recommend for everybody. It's an excellent primer. I'm gonna use a primer that I think is kind of like in between. And that is the Urban Decay Primer Potion in Eden. The regular Urban Decay Primer Potion is more of that like clear, whereas this one is matte and has a light yellow tint to it, which works really well with my skin tone. I am going to blend that out with the Sephora Smokey Crease Brush. And I just start by patting that in, and I make sure to get the inner corner and then fade it up towards the brow bone. So with a more matte primer, I don't feel the need to set my primer. But if you're using a primer and you think it's kind of sticky or tacky, and when you go to put your shadows on top, they kind of just stick in one place and they don't blend, then definitely set your primer. And by that, I mean take a little bit of your face powder or a shadow that's similar to your skin tone and just kind of fluff a little bit of that all over the primer to set it and absorb any excess moisture, so then the powders that you put on top will just glide over and not skip or stick. I'm going for like kind of like a warm look today, and by warm I mean has like some more orange tones to it. I'm going for like a rosy orangey kind of look, as you can see over here. So basically I'm going to start off with my transition shade, which is what I always do. You can experiment with the order, by the way, but I'm going in an order that I think is logical, in that you could stop at any point and put on mascara and have a complete eye look. So my transition shade, your transition shade should be something that's close to your skin tone, maybe a shade darker, and in the same color family as the rest of the shadows that you're working with, or something that matches your undertone really well, which I'll kind of elaborate on later. But basically I'm going to use Makeup Geek's Beaches and Cream, and I'm gonna go in with my Inglot 6SS brush with that, and I'm going to do windshield wiper motions and a little bit of circular motions to just kind of blow that out. And this isn't adding a ton of color, but basically what this does is it sets the groundwork for a nice gradient. So next I'm gonna do my lid shade, and you can just use a powder for this, but if you want it to be really intense and pop, you can use a cream shadow as a base. So what I'm gonna use as my cream shadow base is the Milani Shadow Eyes 12 Hour Wear Eyeshadow in 03 Champagne Toast. and I'm going to just draw this on, and I'm not going to bring it all the way up to the crease because when you blend things, they move, and you cannot apply a cream shadow without blending it out. Otherwise, it will smear throughout the day and it will just kind of look choppy. So I'm using the side of the pencil to just draw this on. And then taking my ring finger, you can also use a brush for this if you want to get more precise, but I'm taking my ring finger and just blending that out. For my lid shade, I am going to use the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette on this like flat brush. Like we said before, these flat brushes are really great for packing on color all over the lid. And the other thing I want to mention is that your lid is a really great place for shimmer. I forgot to mention this about the transition shade. The transition shade should really be matte because in your crease you want to build depth, and shimmer has reflection to it. Reflection is kind of the opposite of depth. It reflects light. So it's kind of like confusing to the eye and it won't look as flattering. In order to make your eye kind of look bigger, having something shimmery on the lid will draw attention to that area and make it look bigger because it does reflect light. So it's a great place for shimmer. Now, if you have hooded or deep set eyes, this can be really tricky. So I recommend using a matte in that area until you get a little bit more experienced, and you can just save shimmer for your inner corner, which we'll get to in a moment. As far as color goes, it really depends on your eye shape, what kind of color you want to put on the lid. The lid is a great spot for a pop of color. So if you wanted to do a bright blue, bright purple, whatever, your lid is a great place for that. I'm gonna use like a neutral today. A general rule of thumb is you want it to be like a medium shade. If your eyes are super bulgy and you put something really light and shiny on your lid, it could just make your eyes look even more bulgy, for example. But anyway, I'm going to use the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette, and I'm going to take this eyelid shade, go figure, and I'm going to load up the brush with that, and I am going to do a combination of patting and sweeping. Like, I don't know how to describe this, but I'm just gonna build that color up. And using the base underneath kind of makes this stick to it and make it super vibrant. And that's another tip, like if you're using maybe shadows that aren't the best quality, you can definitely make them look a lot better by using them over a sticky base. The other thing you can do is spritz your brush with water or a facial mist, and that will kind of foil the shadow a little bit and make it more intense and more pigmented. I don't always want that foily look, so I'm not wetting my brush today, but just think about it. When you wet your brush and you kind of move it this way, you are like smushing the pearls together, and that will give it more of a foiled look instead of showing you the individual shimmers. So it depends on what you want there, but that's definitely an option, both wetting your brush and moving the brush more like this. The last thing I want to say about shimmery or glittery eyeshadows or like foiled metallic eyeshadows is that sometimes they apply best with your finger. So try experimenting between your finger and a brush and see like what gives you the best textural payoff. Now you can just stop here, give it a quick blend if you want with your fluffy brush, and put on mascara and be out the door. You're good. But I'm going to show you guys how to add depth and actually manipulate your eye shape if you so desire. Now for this step, I'm going to be using a more precise blending brush. So the Bold Metals 208, which, what's on my hand? I think that's chocolate. I'm going to be using like a pinched blending brush, the Bold Metals 208, and I'm also going to be using an even more precise blending brush, the Inglot 10S. I love this brush for precise crease work. Another brush you can use if you like to create more of that outer V shape is a pencil brush. This one is by Mary Kay, but I mean, you can get a Sephora collection one. I know this one came in the Smashbox Full Exposure palette. Basically any like pointy kind of brush you can use to kind of stamp in that V shape and then blend with something like this. I'm going for more of like a soft look today, so I'm just gonna go straight in with this. And I'm gonna use Makeup Geek's Frappe, and I'm going to start off by just really lightly putting that in the crease. Now, This step kind of varies by eye shape. So, you know, I'm making mine a little bit rounder on top, but a little bit more V-shaped out here. That's just how I like to do my eyes. I like to kind of elongate them, but stick with their natural shape as well, because I just find that's what's the most flattering while still being able to do like somewhat of a cat eye. That being said, if you want your eye to be more of a cat eye shape, then do more of an outer V instead of an outer C. Like if you're doing an outer C shape, then that's gonna give you that really round look. The other thing is, if you have deep set eyes or hooded eyes, you want to bring your crease shade higher than your natural crease, because that will actually give you the illusion of more of a lid, and that will kind of open up your eyes and make them look a little bit bigger. I mean, you don't have to have hooded eyes to use that technique, but it's a really great technique for hooded eyes or monolids. So I'm gonna go in with the same Makeup Geek eyeshadow, and I'm just gonna build that up in a little bit more of a precise fashion. And that can really help to show you what your eye looks like when it's open as you apply your crease shade. Like if you apply your crease shade with your eyes closed, there's no way to really know what happens when you open your eye, especially if your eyes are more hooded or deep set. So I like to apply my crease shade with my eye open, and again, it helps to kind of look down into a mirror. And I bring this about 3/4 of the way into the crease, and then I take my fluffy Inglot brush and just give it a nice little blend. I like to have a little bit of color in here at least. I don't really like when that space is blank. Now, if you guys want, you can definitely take a darker eyeshadow. The next most logical shadow to me would be something like a darker brown, like one of these. So basically it ends up being like a dark to light kind of thing that you build in like a backwards kind of order. So the next thing I'm going to do is the inner corner, and for this I am going to use my Real Techniques detailer brush. I love this brush, and I'm going to go back into the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette, and I'm going to use this shade that says Brow Bone. I will not be using it on the brow bone, which I will explain in a moment. And the lighter this looks against your skin tone, the more intense it's going to be. A lot of people just keep it like on the tear duct, but I like to actually bring it into the crease ever so slightly, just because I feel like it opens up the eye even more and it kind of marries everything together. And then I bring it onto the lid just a little bit. I'm gonna make it even more intense because that's just what I want to do. So I'm going to use Urban Decay's Polyester Bride. If you have a deep skin tone, I don't recommend using something this icy, but that's kind of what I need because I'm so pale. I'm just showing you guys what it looks like when it's a little more intense. And I bring it a little bit onto the lower lash line as well. And I just take my Inglot brush and blend over everything again, just the edges, because I don't want to get that shimmer everywhere. Now I'm going to do the brow bone real quick. I just wiped off this flat brush, and I'm going to use the shade Heaven from the Too Faced Natural Matte palette. I feel kind of strongly that I don't really want shimmer on the brow bone. I just think shimmer on the brow bone looks kind of like tacky, and it also just like emphasizes any texture or fine lines or wrinkles, which I don't have, but in general, what I do have is straight eyebrow hairs, and it definitely emphasizes those. So yeah, I'm just not a fan of shimmer on the brow bone. And now I'm gonna teach you guys a really easy way to create definition on the lower lash line. Now, a lot of people just don't wanna put anything on the lower lash line because they think it's scary, and I understand, but I really think it can open up the eye and kind of tie everything together and not make it look so naked under there. So we're gonna take our deepener shade, which we used in the crease, and our transition shade, which was the first thing we used in the crease, and then I'm gonna deepen it up a little more with Cocoa Bear. But anyway, I'm taking Frappe on just a flat definer brush. If you've been watching my videos, you know this is just a paintbrush, and I'm going to just hug the lower lash line and wiggle it back and forth. Then I'm going to take a pencil brush and take Beaches and Cream, which was our transition shade, and just blend it out. I'm gonna line my upper lid real quick using the Kat Von D Tattoo Liner in Trooper. This is not an eyeliner tutorial, so I'm just gonna speed through this. Basically, I do want the eyeliner to mimic and complement the shape that we've done with the eyeshadow, so I'm gonna do a very small wing because that's kind of how I did my eyeshadow. And if you find that you kind of get that little bit of flesh between your actual eyeball and your lash line, it's really helpful to tight line, which means wiggling a little bit of pencil liner between your lashes. I'm gonna quickly curl my lashes and apply mascara. Curling your lashes, I mean, my lashes don't really hold a curl at all, but when your lashes are visible, it can make a huge difference in how the eyeshadow looks. So sometimes the look really does come together once you have mascara and or false lashes on. Okay, now I'm also going to apply it to my bottom lashes just to give that definition, but because I have such a strong like black liner on my upper lid, I kind of want to give the bottom lash line a little bit more strength as well. And this is like optional, but I'm just taking a darker eyeshadow. So I'm going to take Makeup Geek's Cocoa Bear and I'm going to just hug the lower lash line with this just to add a little bit of more definition. And if you smear your mascara or get it on your eyeshadow, which I did, wait until it dries and then flake it off. Give everything one last blend. Last thing I wanted to mention about the lower lash line, you guys, is that it's a great spot, in addition to the lid, for a pop of color. So this whole look on the top lid, you could have done like, I don't know, like a pop of blue or a pop of green. Actually, green would have looked really nice on the lower lash line, but I just wanted to keep it nice and neutral for you guys today. So that is it for the eyeshadow look, you guys. I just wanted to give you a little bit more information before you go. So I find that a lot of people kind of say like, oh, well, those colors don't look good on me and stuff like that. And I just wanted to address that real quick. I do think that anybody can wear any colored eyeshadows as long as they like show up on your skin tone. So if you have a deeper skin tone, obviously I wouldn't use Beaches and Cream in the crease. You know, Makeup Geek has a number of other shadows that you could use in the crease if you have a deeper skin tone, like Cocoa Bear is amazing. Bitten is amazing if you want more of like a red look. If you have a more medium skin tone, then something like Frappe will probably work great. Or what is this, Creme Brulee? Yeah, Creme Brulee. But anyway, if you have a color that you think is really unflattering on you, let's say gray or blue, you know, if you have a rosy undertone, sometimes grays can kind of make you look sickly. If you are anybody, sometimes blues can kind of make you look tired. Try putting that color on the lid and then using shades that match your undertone as your transition shades or your crease shades. So like, for example, in my redhead tutorial, we used the Too Faced Natural Matte palette. So we used this shade, Cashmere Bunny, which is kind of like a grayish all over the lid, but then we used this shade over here, this more reddish shade and this more pinkish shade to kind of frame the eye and make the whole thing look more flattering. So if you are using blue all over the lid, try using something more pink or more like of an orangey warm brown kind of shade in the crease, bringing a little bit of your undertone back into the look with your transition shades can really make the other colors a lot more wearable. So I don't think you should be avoiding any color family like as a rule. I will get to color theory in a later video, but you can use colors to make your eye color pop. So for me, like red shades really make the green in my eyes come out because I have hazel eyes. But that being said, because I have so much yellow and brown in my eyes, purples also really make my eye color pop. If you have green or blue eyes, using those kinds of shades like blues and greens on the lid is going to be the least complimentary. So it could look really nice and coherent, but if you really want to make your eye color pop and you have blue eyes, you want to use warm browns because orange is the opposite of blue on the color wheel. It can be really helpful to look up a color wheel when you're trying to make other colors pop, including the color of your eyes. I just wanted to end this video by recommending kind of my favorite brands of eyeshadows. For bright colors, I definitely recommend Sugar Pill. I've definitely talked about this palette slash this brand in other videos, but you really can't go wrong with their brights. The Urban Decay Electric palette is amazing. For neutrals, I really like Anastasia, Makeup Geek, Too Faced, like the Too Faced Natural Matte palette is awesome. And the Urban Decay Naked palettes, are beautiful. For like the best semi-affordable and like biggest variety, it definitely goes to Makeup Geek. I'm not saying they're really good for the price. I'm saying they're like really good. I don't know if you guys have noticed that I use Makeup Geek in like all of my tutorials. Same thing with NYX eyeshadows. Those are more hit or miss, slash those are starting to get more expensive for drugstore ever since they were absorbed by L'Oreal. That being said, I do think most of the eyeshadows they've put out over the past couple of years have been excellent. So I highly recommend NYX and Makeup Geek. I also really like the Milani eyeshadow palettes. This, I forget how much it cost me. I think like about $12. Yeah, I just think these palettes are amazing quality. And I also think that Milani's single eyeshadows, the like Bella gel eyeshadows, they're powders, but anyway, those are awesome as well. For the very affordable category, it definitely goes to Wet n Wild. This is the Comfort Zone palette, and this is the Poster Child palette. I mean, these palettes are like $6. The only actual downside is that with these palettes, you're gonna kind of find a lack of matte eyeshadows, so it can be hard to come up with like a more sophisticated look, but I mean, I love them. I use them frequently, and I do think they are an excellent choice. So that's it, you guys. Forgive me for being a little long-winded. And again, I want to know like what you guys think of this style of video. Like, do you think it's overwhelming? I don't really know how else to kind of explain how to apply eyeshadow without explaining everything, so this I thought was the best way to do it. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Also, make sure you check out my foolproof smoky eye tutorial, which I'm gonna link below as well, because that's kind of like a different technique of applying eyeshadow. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at CatEyeSophie. My Instagram is also CatEyeSophie, and otherwise that is it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.